Welcome. Thank you for watching this video on strategies for incorporating physical activity into your classroom. We would also like to thank you for taking the time to participate in this research study. I'm Elizabeth Hivner.
And I'm Kara Schiffler.
And we are both project coordinators at Penn State PRO Wellness. Penn State PRO Wellness is committed to providing schools and the community with evidence-based resources for improving health and wellness. We currently focus on healthy eating and physical activity in an effort to reduce the obesity epidemic that affects 1 in 3 children. And so we believe that schools are a unique environment where we can partner with to help students build strong, healthy, and successful individuals. So today we will briefly review the research study expectations, discuss techniques for implementing physical activity breaks into your classroom, and provide everyone with useful resources at the end. So before we look into the physical activity break information, I wanted to go over what your role in this project will look like. So we're asking that you simply take time to complete a total of 5 surveys. So you've already completed the baseline survey, this first survey, in order to watch this video, and so there's only 4 left that you will need to take. So the monthly surveys are much shorter than this first survey that you took. There's only about 5 questions in these surveys, so it should only take you about 3 minutes, if that, to complete. They're very short and simple, and you will receive a link through your email to complete them by a specified due date. And because we want to encourage participation in completing these surveys, we have added a fun bonus for everyone. So when you complete the survey, your name will be put into a drawing to win a $25 Amazon gift card. And so you will have a chance to win a gift card for each of the surveys that you complete. The final survey will look very similar to the baseline survey that you just completed, and also will be incentivized with a $25 Amazon gift card. So we really appreciate you taking time to complete these surveys. Another thing that I wanted to know is that these surveys will be asking about the frequency of your use of physical activity breaks in the classroom. And none of this information will be specifically shared with any other teacher or administrator in your school, so we just ask that you are completely honest with us. If you have any questions about this, please don't hesitate to contact us. Our contact information is at the end of the webinar and will be sent to you.
So let's begin by talking about what physical activity breaks are. A physical activity break is an exercise break that contributes to a child's recommended 60 minutes of activity per day, and these can last anywhere between 5 and 20 minutes. So it doesn't have to be real long. It could be just a short burst of energy in between lessons.
So why physical activity breaks? So we know that healthier students are better learners, and I think that you can agree that when your students come into class and they haven't had breakfast, they're not going to be able to learn as well, and they aren't able to focus as well because they're worried about, they haven't had enough to eat, and so their bellies are hungry and they can't sit and focus and learn. And so similarly, when your students come into class and they haven't had enough time to get their wiggles out and move around, they're going to have a little bit more of a difficult time focusing. And so I'm sure that you've noticed this in your classroom with your kids and have seen that there are different things that affect their ability to succeed and do well in the classroom during instructional time. And so we also know that kids spend most of the day in school, and so schools have this really great ability to shape not only the learning but the overall well-being of children. And so incorporating more physical activity into your classroom will have many benefits. Research actually tells us that physical activity breaks not only improve student attention, but also improves concentration, academic behavior, academic achievement, and we're even seeing higher test scores for students when some time from the academic lesson is actually taken for a physical activity break. Specifically, math test scores have improved with physical activity breaks in the classroom. So there are various types of physical activity breaks that we will discuss. So the first is your classic classroom physical activity break. So this is a break where you get students up and moving in between academic lesson instructional time. The second is when you engage students actively while they are learning. So you review content, review math, review history as students are standing and moving and acting something out or getting their bodies moving in a way that engages them in learning. And the last type, stretching and mindfulness, this is really more of a technique to use to help your students focus and calm back down after an active physical activity break. So let's talk about physical activity break that you can do in your classroom. So this is just one example. There are many other examples out there, and we will be giving you resources at the end that you can look into for yourself so that you can pick the best type of physical activity break that will work for your classroom. So for this activity, you simply can prepare for this by writing down various sports activities on index cards. So you can write swimming, shooting a basketball, kicking a soccer ball on various index cards, and then simply have your students take turns and pick out a card. And after they pick it, so if they select swimming, everyone would act out the motions of swimming together until the next student picks a card, and then you would repeat after that until until all of the cards or most of the cards have been picked. And this is a great thing to do maybe while you're in between lessons, or if you just want to get kids up and moving, or while you're waiting in line for something. Is an idea of an activity that you can do that's very simple and something that can engage the students in following directions and moving.
So active learning is when movement is used to review and learn academic content. This definitely promotes better student learning, and one example of this would be splitting students into groups of maybe 4 or 5 and then teaching students to add by adding those groups of students together. You can also use this example with multiplication, division, and other math problems as well that really allow them to act it out and better learn the content as they're able to move around a little bit. Okay, here's another example of active learning, and this would be a science. This activity, you would have all the students stand up, and then you would simply state a state of the molecules, whether they're in a liquid, gas, or solid form. When they're in a gas form, the students are going to go spread out throughout the room. Liquid form, they would come a little bit closer together, but still be moving. And then when you would say solid, students would come together pretty tight and just be vibrating a little bit. So that as you shout different states, the gas, liquid, or solid, students would then move to reflect that state of molecules. For classroom management, when you're planning these activity breaks, you're going to want to make sure that you set some guidelines for the students just to make sure that you have classroom management under control. So setting expectations before the physical activity break begins can really help students just know exactly what's expected of them behavior-wise. Arranging the classroom is also pretty helpful, and students can even help with this. We just want to make sure that they have a little bit of wiggle room so that they're not tripping over anything or each other. Using cues, such as a bell to start and stop physical activity breaks, can be really helpful. And then just setting clear time limits and being firm in those time limits. And you can start small. Even with one physical activity break a day would probably be a good place to start, and then work your way up to as many as your classroom can handle.
So mindfulness and stretching are 2 ways that you can help students calm down and get back into the academic lesson after a physical activity break. So stretching is a way that students can wake up and maybe just wake up shortly in between academic lessons, and they can also be incorporated into physical activity breaks. So let's just take a moment and do a mindfulness activity together. So if you can close your eyes and take a deep breath in. Now let it out and notice where your breath is coming from. Is it in your belly, in your chest, in your back? Just notice where it is. Now keeping your eyes closed, imagine a red balloon floating out in front of you, and grab it, bring it close. Now let it go and just imagine it float up into the sky. and you can open your eyes. So that was a quick example of how to use mindfulness in the classroom. So this is a really great activity that it's very calming and allows students to kind of take a moment to come into themselves and breathe. And also there's a little bit of small activity with the reaching for the balloon that will help those kids that need to move have a little bit of movement while not being completely out of control. And so there are lots of mindfulness exercises that you can access on the internet, or you can also just make stuff like that one that I just did with you all. So I wanted to share with you resources that are available. So Go Noodle is a resource that many teachers know about and use in their classroom, and teachers that incorporate physical activity into their classroom love Go Noodle because it's a video-based resource that you can play the video and it'll guide your students through a physical activity break. There also is mindfulness activities on Go Noodle, and they're constantly adding new activities. So it's an exciting and very useful resource that I would definitely recommend that you look into. Feel Up to Play 60 is another resource that provides lots of great ideas for physical activity breaks that you can take and then modify and change and use in your classroom. Active Academics is one of my personal favorites. You are, with this is a website that you can go into and select the grade that you teach and then the subject that you are, the lesson that you are teaching, whether it be history, math, social studies. Select the subject and it'll give you a list of ideas for physical activity engaged learning. Lots of great ideas that you can either use directly or kind of adapt for what you can use in your classroom. So I would definitely suggest checking that website out. And then also our website, PRO Wellness website, includes lots of great resources for physical activity break suggestions and techniques that you can use in your classroom. So here are the links so you can use them and access them on your own. So thank you for watching this video and participating in the research study. So your next task will be in a couple weeks. We'll just ask that you complete a 5-question survey. It should be really quick, asking about your frequency of physical activity break use in the classroom. And of course, we encourage that you use physical activity breaks in your classroom and start to think about ways that you can engage your students more actively in physical activity breaks or active learning. And I should also reiterate, even if you choose not to use physical activity breaks in your classroom, we ask that you still complete the surveys. Our hope is that we can use the survey answers from the teachers in your school and in your district to help other teachers throughout the state and through the nation to incorporate physical activity into their classroom for their students. And if you have any other questions about the research study or about physical activity breaks, please don't hesitate to contact either me or Kara. We would be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.